Hey everyone, my name is Atul Modi. I'm the Senior Product Manager for AWS Transform for VMware. And joining me for this presentation today is Ahua Hassan Fuchs, who's the Principal Product Manager for AWS Application Migration Service. Uh, the core agenda that we will be covering today is we're going to dive into some of the transformation challenges that we've been hearing from our customers about. We will talk about AWS Transform for VMware. We'll introduce the service, after which we'll do a deep dive into the features and benefits of the service, and we'll conclude with a demo of the service. Uh, Now, when we've been talking to our customers, uh, there are a few key common themes we keep hearing in terms of problems that they're facing with their current VMware setups and things that are important to them. One of the most common ones is the licensing changes and how they've impacted their total cost of ownership, how it's driven many customers to reevaluate how do they think about their IT spend. Uh, the second thing that we hear a lot about is how today their workloads are legacy workloads. They have been built over several years uh, by teams that have the knowledge as tribal knowledge or siloed knowledge. And this is slowing down their innovation. This is slowing down their ability to innovate on the cloud and expand in the business domain. And the third thing we hear from customers is that their teams are currently unsure on how to bridge skill gaps and knowledge gaps. Uh, a lot of the team members that they have, our customers have, they are VMware experts, but they're not experts on how to migrate or modernize or how to use the cloud. And that's where they're looking for AWS to help them bridge those knowledge gaps. Uh, some of the dynamics in customer sentiments that we've been hearing and that some of the common market analysts have put out is customers at an average, they're seeing almost 3x to 10x increase in their VMware licensing costs. As a result of this, over 74% of VMware customers, according to Gartner, are already exploring alternatives. And not only this, more than 95% are already thinking of launching any new digital workloads on cloud directly instead of even considering on premises over there. However, when customers think about their transformation journey, uh, it's not a straightforward journey. There are multiple paths that customers have today. Uh, One of the most basic things that they consider is doing that they do consider doing is moving behind Amazon's VPC, retaining their current hypervisor. The other is lifting and shifting from their current VMware hypervisor to Amazon EC2. Uh, and more advanced customers, they gradually move towards modernizing their workloads, moving from Amazon EC2 and licensed software to more cloud native software that allows them to innovate faster, such as moving their databases to Amazon or PostgreSQL. Uh, a key aspect of VMware transformation is that it's not just moving a server to the cloud. It's not just transitioning your data to the cloud. There's an entire tech stack over here that needs to be thought through. And that entire tech stack needs to be mapped to cloud native technologies. VMs need to be mapped to EC2. The network stack needs to be mapped to the corresponding network components on AWS, and same for storage. And for all of these, they our customers, they're seeking expertise to manage and navigate this complexity. Uh, Today, like even over the past 18 years, AWS and our partners, they built multitude of tools. They built a lot of tools that exist today for purpose-built aspects of this journey. Uh, they help to automate the work required for assessments, for planning, for migration. However, these tools do not often share context. And our customers have been telling us that they need a single source of truth that allows them to collaborate and drive this entire end to end journey rather than have the burden on themselves to do that. Uh, we believe the advancements in generative AI and the power of agentic AI now allows us to provide a solution in this domain. Uh, Another challenge that we hear from our customers is just the sheer amount of manual work involved with the transformation projects. In the assessment, planning, and modernization phase, uh, each of these phases needs to be repeated for thousands of VMs across applications uh, over a period of multiple years, and it's labor intensive. It's heavily manually labor dependent, making it error prone, and it often involves multiple teams from within our customers' orgs, from within partner organizations, as well as from AWS ProServe organizations. And often these create collaboration bottlenecks challenges and result in misalignments and long timelines for migration projects. This is where AWS Transform comes in. AWS Transform is the first agentic AI service for large scale migration and modernizations. We've introduced this generally, we made this generally available earlier this month. And this is available for three use cases today. The first is VMware migration to Amazon EC2. Second is mainframe modernization. And the third is .NET modernization from Windows to Linux. In this presentation, we're going to focus on the VMware modernization aspect. So AWS Transformation is the first agentic AI service for modernizing VMware workloads at scale. Uh, this new transformation capability allows our customers to simplify and automate VMware transformation tasks, including data discovery, wave planning, network translation and deployment to AWS, and finally orchestrating the entire migration process to migrate the servers over as well. Uh, with each of these, the customer has the capability to collaborate with all the different teams that they have, their partner teams, their own teams with AWS ProServe in a single environment to deliver their migration projects. Uh, Looking at some of the key capabilities of AWS Transform. First of all, it provides a singular unified web-based interface now, which allows customers to drive both their migration and modernization projects in a single place. They can imagine and think about their complete end-to-end journey, their end state, and using the single interface, they can drive that entire project with their cross-functional teams. Second, AWS Transform is built on foundational LLMs. We use the latest state-of-the-art LLM models to drive the transformation projects. Third, these agents are domain expert agents. They're trained on over 18 years of AWS's knowledge on migration and modernization. Uh, they know what are the different nuances and aspects associated with each domain, and they interact with customers to drive the entire end-to-end migration and modernization projects. Fourth, there is a critical human in the loop element to agentic AI projects. We know that these projects cannot be handled by AI in complete silos. We know that there is an oversight, human oversight needed for these projects. So there is a human in the loop element that we've baked in. Any critical artifacts that AI generates, humans have the access to review those, edit those, and approve those to help drive the projects and provide that oversight. Next, the automation is built using purpose-built AWS services. We've used a lot of the tools and AWS services that you're already familiar with as we've built this agentic AI service. We've used tools such as AWS Application Discovery Service, AWS Application Migration Service, and this entire agentic AI experience is built on top of some of these services, tying them all together to provide you a unified experience for your transformation jobs. And lastly, this tool is or is built with collaboration as a top of the mind concern. We make sure that you're able to collaborate with your partner teams, with AWS ProServe, and with any number of teams within your organization, with the right level of roles attached to each of these teams to make sure you can drive your transformation projects. Some of the core capabilities for VMware at a high level that AWS Transform provides are the capability to discover your on-premises data, to get a deep understanding of your VMware environments, and do an AI-driven analysis to analyze and classify that data to identify even gaps in areas which might prevent you to get a comprehensive migration plan. Second is planning for your migrations. AWS Transform provides intelligent migration and wave planning, along with the ability to convert your VMware network to AWS equivalents. Third, it provides the ability to use integrated AWS migration tools for faster, safer execution of large migrations. And lastly, it provides this unified interface for you to collaborate and resolve issues faster for seamless transformation. With this, I'm going to transition this presentation to Hua to deep dive into the capabilities of AWS Transform.
Thank you, Atul. So let's deep dive a bit into the capabilities of AWS Transform. As Atul mentioned, we currently support 4 parts in this migration journey, each of these implemented as an agent. The first part is the discovery and data ingestion. This is a really critical part of the migration where our customers analyze, learn, and build the inventory that they plan to migrate. Wave planning is where they take all that inventory that they discovered, the server configuration, the network configuration, and break that down into waves, planning the migration project. Network conversion and migration is where you migrate your network from on-premise or into AWS. And finally, the server rehosting, the VMware migration and deployment. And the journey, this full journey, is reflected in AWS Transform. And let's deep dive into each of these sections of the migration journey. The first part is the discovery, figuring out your inventory, figuring out what you want to migrate out of your data center. Typically, we see in data centers that about 50% of the inventory is actually migrated in migration projects, and 50% of the inventory is other things are done with it. Some of those servers are retired, they're no longer needed, or modernized. When we look at successful migration projects, they always start with the discovery, figuring out what your inventory is and what you actually want to migrate into AWS. In our discovery process, we support a few different ways of discovering inventory using an agentless or an agent-based discovery collector to collect data. We also base our discovery on RV inventory for the basic network configuration. If you have an NSX environment, we also support an NSX environment tool, and that allows us to discover your on-premise inventory either by importing existing inventory or running our discovery tools to discover your on-prem inventory and kicking off your migration process. Wave planning is another critical part of your migration. When you plan your migration, what we've seen in successful migrations is that they break down the migration into waves. Now, you don't need to do this if you're only migrating 20, 30 servers. That's easy to do. But if you're migrating 500 servers or 1,000 servers, you're going to want to plan your migration in waves. Typically, customers start off with a small wave of 20 to 30 servers to learn the migration process. The next wave will also be a small wave of 20 to 30 servers as you ramp up and understand how to perform this migration, and then customers can migrate 150 servers per wave. We see that many, many customers, how they, after they pass the first couple of waves, they can really run really quickly in large migration waves. But how do you plan what to include in a wave? Which servers belong to an application? Which applications have dependencies that you want to move them all together? That's what the wave planning is all about. How you break down your inventory into move groups or into your waves so that you know which servers and applications you want to migrate at what time, and plan that with your stakeholders, with your application owners, have everyone prepared for this migration. The next step is actually migration execution. After you've figured out your inventory, you plan your waves, now you're actually beginning to migrate your inventory, your data center into AWS. The first thing that you're going to do is build your network. And the network conversion capability helps read your on-prem inventory, your on-prem network configuration, and translate it to AWS network entities. For the network conversion process, we support two types of files, either VMware vSphere via an RVTools file, or if you have an NSX environment, we have a AWS open source tool called NSX Import and Export, which provides the configuration that the network is built on. And we support two target topologies, either hub and spoke or isolated VPCs, allowing you to customize who talks to who. And we translate a wide variety of entities into AWS, VPCs and subnets, IPs, routes, route tables, security groups, and ACLs for NSX. Those are all translated by the network conversion process. And of course, we use LLM and generative AI in this translation process where we're translating your on-prem environment into AWS compatible environment. And what we generate is CDKs and CloudFormation templates. If you want to, we will also deploy it for you into your account, or you can choose to download those the CloudFormation templates, the CDK, download it, review it, and deploy it yourself. So you have both of those options with the network migration. We'll also show you what we've translated, and we're aiming to retain same to same. What you had on-premise is what you're going to get in the translation in the cloud. We provide descriptions so you know which entities we translated to which entities, and this is provided as part of the network migration capability. Finally, after we've discovered your inventory, after we've planned your waves, after we've migrated your network, it's now time to migrate your servers. And also with that, it fully happens within the AWS Transform console. We will guide you through installing an agent on your servers to migrate them and replicate all their data. In the process, you could completely monitor the operations, see the replication status, see the test status, see the cutover status for all of your servers and your applications in each of your waves through the AWS Transform experience. AWS Transform is available in 2 regions, in Frankfurt and North Virginia, and that's where you're going to be doing your discovery and wave planning. For your migration target, we actually support 12 target regions. The full list is available here. If you are migrating to a region which is not Frankfurt or North Virginia, there will be some communication across regions from your environment where you're doing the discovery and wave planning to your target region for the migration. These regions are currently supported at GA, and during this upcoming year, we will be adding support for additional regions. I know that's something that a lot of customers are interested in. Through the migration journey within AWS Transform, there's also a dashboard so you could follow the progress. If this is a migration journey and you're using AWS Transform over a 6-month period for a large data center exit, of course you want an executive view to see what's going on, how many servers have you migrated, how many applications and waves, what's going on with your network. So the dashboard, which is available out of the box as part of AWS Transform, helps guide you through this migration process. When you think about the benefits of AWS Transform, the main benefit is that it's a trusted advisor. It brings together the knowledge that we've accumulated by migrating thousands and thousands of customers into AWS. All of that knowledge of ProServe and all of our engineering team brought together in a agentic guided experience through AWS Transform, aiming to lower your costs by eliminating the VMware licensing fees, accelerating migration through the wave planning, network migration, where we see really huge acceleration, improving security by guiding you through a best practice network using all the cloud native abilities of AWS, and of course, allowing you to move really quickly once you're in the cloud, continuing your modernization journey with all the AWS native capabilities that are available. Now, after all of that talk, I know a lot of you are really interested in seeing AWS Transform, seeing what this is all about. So we've prepared a demo for you, which actually walks you through the console experience of AWS Transform through all the stages that we talked about, starting with the discovery, the wave planning, the network migration, and the server migration. So let's get started.
To start using AWS Transform, your AWS account administrator needs to enable the service in your AWS Identity Center account. After choosing to get started and configuring your data encryption settings, you can enable AWS Transform. Choose Manage Users to add access for your AWS Identity Center users to the AWS Transform web app. You may add new Identity Center users or assign existing users to the web app to provide them access. The settings page provides you the URL for accessing the AWS Transform web app. Now you can simply log into the AWS Transform web app using your Identity Center credentials. A workspace is pre-created for you to help you get started. It contains your transformation jobs and allows you to collaborate on them with other stakeholders. We are going to rename our workspace over here and give it a new description. Next, you can ask AWS Transform to start a job to migrate your VMware applications to EC2. You can choose from different job plan options based on your objectives and ask AWS Transform to create the job for you once you're satisfied with the job details. As a part of creating a job, AWS Transform creates an initial job plan for you. These are the steps that the VMware agent will follow to migrate your VMs to EC2. A typical VMware migration job consists of the data discovery, application grouping, network migration, and server migration tasks. As the job progresses, the VMware agent dynamically updates the job plan to add any new steps based on its learnings. In case any step requires human input, the agent initiates a collaboration request and notifies you and your project collaborators. At any point, you can add collaborators to your workspace. A collaborator may have one of four roles: a view only role to view job progress, a contributor role to execute unauthorized job tasks, an approver role to approve critical artifacts generated by the agent, or an administrator role, which has all the previously mentioned permissions, along with the ability to invite collaborators. The first required task for a VMware migration job is to set up your Discovery account connector. A connector for a VMware job may be an AWS account where you can store your on-premises network and server inventory data, or it may be a target AWS account in which the VMware agent will provision your translated network and EC2 infrastructure for migration. By creating a connector, you give the VMware agent necessary permissions to perform job-related tasks within that AWS account and region. You can create a new connector or use an existing one. Once the connector has been approved by your AWS account administrator, you can start using it to collect data. On-premises data discovery is a crucial step in planning VMware migrations. You can use AWS Application Discovery Services agentless or agent-based collectors to collect server and network traffic data. In addition, you can upload exports from tools such as RV Tools or an NSX export file to provide the VMware agent your on-premises network configuration data. Once you have set up your data collectors and uploaded your inventory files, you can send the collected data to the VMware agent to plan your migration. At any point, you can review the progress of your job in the Work Log tab. The Work Log provides a trail of steps performed by you, any collaborators, and by the agent. You also have the option to filter the work log by a specific step or download it for further detailed analysis. Now that you have uploaded your inventory data, the VMware agent analyzes the discovered data, classifies it, and provides you a summary. Not only does it provide you the count and the list of identified servers, it also provides you data completeness and quality indicators. It highlights whether it has received sufficient network connection data to optimally group application servers and generate waves. Once you are satisfied with the collected data, you can ask the agent to generate your wave plan. The VMware agent uses graph neural networks to analyze the collected server inventory and network traffic data and identify application dependencies. It generates application groupings and migration wave recommendations, aiming to maintain application integrity during migration. The agent asks you to review the generated plan. You can download the wave plan, review the application groupings and waves, edit it to make changes to the groupings, and upload it back to the agent. Next, the agent asks you to connect your target AWS account and region. This account will be used by the VMware agent to provision your AWS network and launch your VMs as EC2 instances. Once the target account connection is approved by the AWS account administrator, you can start working with the agent to translate your on-premises network. You can use existing VPCs from your target account or deploy new ones based on the VMware agent's translation of your on-premises network. Using your uploaded network configuration, the VMware agent translates your on-premises VMware network constructs, such as VLANs, vSwitches, port groups, and network firewall rules, to corresponding AWS network constructs, such as VPCs, subnets, security groups, route tables, transit gateways, and more. In addition, you may choose from amongst various network topology options, such as hub and spoke or isolated VPCs, to ask the VMware agent to generate the corresponding topology for the deployment on AWS. After generating your AWS network, the agent shows you the proposed network's details for your review. Using large language models, it generates infrastructure as code, AWS CloudFormation, and AWS Cloud Development Kit templates as artifacts and uploads them to the S3 bucket in your AWS account. You can ask the VMware agent to deploy the generated network to your AWS account and verify its reachability. Alternatively, you can modify the generated CloudFormation or CDK template as needed and deploy it on your own. Once the deployment starts, you can view the deployed CloudFormation stacks and the corresponding AWS network deployments within your target AWS account. Now that the VMware agent has generated your wave plans and deployed your AWS network, it asks you to select and prepare the waves that you want to migrate. The agent asks you to provide sizing and tenancy preferences for the target EC2 instances that it will launch for each wave. It uses these preferences to generate EC2 instance type recommendations while allowing you to exclude undesired instance types. Next, the VMware agent combines its generated artifacts, including the wave plan, the target AWS network configuration, security groups, and its recommended EC2 instance types to generate a comprehensive migration execution plan. You can download this plan, edit it based on your needs, and upload it back to the agent for execution. To begin migrating your VMs to AWS, a replication agent must be installed on them. You can ask AWS Transform to automate the installation of these replication agents on your VMs, or choose to deploy them on your own. Once the replication agents are installed on your VMs, they automatically start replicating the data to AWS. The VMware agent gives you a detailed view into the replication status of each application and server in your wave. Once the replication completes, you can launch test EC2 instances directly from the AWS Transform web app. The agent allows you to make changes to the EC2 instance launch template based on your needs, both at test EC2 instance launch time as well as subsequently during cutover EC2 instance launch. After you complete acceptance testing on the test EC2 instances and are satisfied, you can ask the VMware agent to mark your applications as ready for cutover. You can choose to manually terminate your test EC2 instances at this stage, or let the agent terminate them for you after it launches cutover instances subsequently. Now that you are ready to launch cutover EC2 instances, you can choose to update the EC2 launch template once again based on your needs. With the finalized EC2 launch template, you can ask the VMware agent to go ahead and launch your cutover EC2 instances in your target AWS account. The last task after successfully migrating your VMs is to finalize the cutover. When you ask the agent to finalize the cutover, it stops data replication and uninstalls the replication agent from your VMs. Lastly, in the Dashboard tab for a job, AWS Transform provides you a detailed view showing the progress of your VMware transformation job. This includes status for each wave, application, server, and network. Migration practitioners and project managers can use this dashboard to monitor job progress and act on stalled and lagging jobs to keep their AWS migrations on track and meet business objectives.
And thank you, Atul, for the demo. It was beautiful to see the walkthrough of everything that we've been working on for the past few months. During the process of building AWS Transform, we worked with a bunch of launch partners who tried out AWS Transform, gave us feedback on what we've built, and had some had and these are some quotes of their experience. So one of the things that they found when using AWS Transform is the acceleration, with a 50% reduction in discovery time, translating to 2x or 3x acceleration in the assessment phase alone. That's beyond the acceleration of the network migration and the full journey. So these are great time savings. And also, SourceFuge mentioned that wave planning and network setup was reduced from 2 weeks to just a couple of hours. And this is something that we've seen at a lot of customers, that the wave planning and network setup, network configuration can take quite a while. And that's something really quick when using AWS Transform. In the chat, and also we've been hearing questions about where you can learn more about AWS Transform. So of course, we set you up with a lot of resources. There's a AWS Transform for VMware product page where you can see links to videos, blogs, a lot of information where you can learn about AWS Transform for VMware and how you can start your VMware modernization journey using AWS Transform. I also want to mention AWS Transform assessments, which is how you could build a business case for your migration. It's really important or critical to set up your migration for success by building a business case that brings together all of your stakeholders across your company aligned on what's the purpose of your migration, why are you doing it, why is it important, and that really strong business case is how you get all your stakeholders aligned. And AWS Transform for assessments can help set you up with that business case.
And now's the time for some questions. So I see in the chat a few questions. Let's take a few minutes to answer them. One of the questions is AWS Transform related to Q Developer Transform? So the answer is yes. At reInvent, we announced a preview of Q Developer Transform and Q Developer Transform for VMware. And before the GA release, we decided to rename that to AWS Transform. So the official name is now AWS Transform or AWS Transform for VMware, and this is a continuation of the Q Developer Transform preview. There's a question on how fast is the replication and how long does it take? So replication speed is hard to predict because it depends on many factors, including and not limited to the connection speed, the source location, the target region, the on-premise infrastructure, and the size of the disks that you need to replicate. So really there's a lot of diversity, and the best way to estimate is to actually try to replicate a server in your environment to get a ballpark for the replication duration. Another question is, which type of servers can you migrate using AWS Transform for VMware? So the answer is that we support migrating x86 operating systems, many different versions of Windows and Linux. We don't support anything that's not x86, so ARM devices or Sun Solaris are not supported for migration with AWS Transform for VMware. I see another question here about which regions, in which regions is AWS Transform available at? And the answer is AWS Transform is available in US East and Frankfurt. Those are the regions the projects can be created in and where your discovery and wave planning happen. For network migration and server migration, you can choose from a total of 12 regions. US East, North Virginia, US West, Oregon, Canada Central, South America, Sao Paulo, Europe, Frankfurt, London, and Paris, Asia Pacific, Mumbai, Seoul, Tokyo, Singapore, and Sydney, and we plan to expand to additional regions in the future. A final question that we have is, does AWS Transform generate Terraform or Ansible for network migration infrastructure as code? So currently the GA release supports generating a CDK and CloudFormation templates. We don't yet support Terraform or Ansible or other infrastructure as code for our network migration deployment. The final question is, does AWS Transform generate Terraform or Ansible for network migration infrastructure as code? The GA release supports CDK and CloudFormation templates. We don't yet support generating Terraform or Ansible files as infrastructure as code for our network migration deployment.
Thank you for joining us on this session. I hope it was informative and a good use of your time. I enjoyed being here. Atul, thank you for joining me on this webinar, and see you next time.